Hi students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian and I'm streaming to you from beautiful Victoria here in Western Canada. I hope all of you are having an amazing start to your weekends. Students, in this class we are looking at IELTS Task 1 writing, specifically a bar graph, looking at the way that students, or I should say more specifically, young people or youth prefer to move around their transportation methods. Students, this Task 1 writing is for the academic IELTS. For the general IELTS, it's quite a bit different. So make sure you know which version of the exam you're taking and practice for that Task 1 writing. This website or this class is powered by our websites, aehelp.com for academic IELTS and gieltshelp.com for general IELTS. So if you're a general IELTS student and you're interested in Task 1, then definitely check out our general IELTS website, which is here with the green background at gieltshelp.com, and click that big red button to join the premium version of the course. There you will find Task 1 sample essays, instructions on how to write those narrative essays, communications, emails, letters. We're an IDP affiliate. We're a British Council partner. We're an IELTS test registration center. I'm a British Council agent. We have been helping IELTS students succeed on their exams for well over a decade. And this is our academic IELTS website here. Again, to join the premium version of our course, just click the big red button and you're good to go. That way you can join our premium Zoom classes that we have each week, as well as get access to lots and lots of other great materials. Welcome members. Hi Fuang. Hi Elizabeth. Welcome Carolina. Everybody, you will see Carolina in blue in the chat. She is our chat moderator. She is here to help us have an effective and successful class. Again, when you join the premium version of our course, you can use the code DRAGON9, or sorry, DRAGON24, I should say, because it's the year 2024, year of the dragon, and you'll get a 24% discount. That's a limited time discount this week, celebrating the Lunar New Year. So you can use that code on the websites, and you can also use it on Shopify. You can definitely get access to these courses through Shopify, through YouTube. Here is the link for that, and it's easy peasy lemon squeezy. You just check out through the YouTube channel by clicking on products or the store, and there you go. Premium members, today I'm sending out your Zoom links for the premium member classes. Those of you who have premium access to the websites, you should see emails within the next 24 hours with the special links to the class on Sunday and Wednesday. So keep an eye out for that. For those of you on mobile, the apps are Academic IELTS Help and General IELTS Help. You can download those apps, install them. You can upgrade to the premium version through the app as well. And for lots of free fun information, you can visit IELTS_AE Help or GIELTS Help on Instagram. We do lots of postings there, and we create lots and lots of videos to help you, and we're actually expanding our video editing team. I just saw a CV this morning from a person, and if you would like to be a video editor for some YouTube videos, send me your CV to this email below, where you can also send your questions for the IELTS exam or regarding the English language. Adrian at aehelp.com or admin at aehelp.com. Students' classes this week, we have Task 1 right now. This is a members chat class. Of course, everybody is welcome to watch. Then we have a reading class that will be for subscribers. So if you want to join the chat, it's free. You just have to subscribe to the YouTube channel, which is a good idea because And then you get notifications about these classes, the times, new video releases. And for those of you taking the IELTS within the next few weeks, that's definitely a good idea. Then we've got speaking part 2 and part 3 tomorrow at the same time as the 2 classes today. Notice that the speaking part 3, that's for everyone, that will actually be on the website at aehelp.com. Okay. And then Sunday we have the exclusive class for premium students on the website on Zoom. Make sure to check out this video. This is a really great video for those of you who want to improve your English speaking for the speaking section of the IELTS. Carolina, thank you for mentioning about the code on Shopify in the chat. I see that now that I put the link in for this video. Let's jump in on this task 1 writing question. So you get to the writing section. It's the last section of the sitting part of the exam. So you have about 40-45 minutes of listening, and then you have 1 hour of reading, and then you have 1 hour of writing. And that writing section starts with task 1 in both the academic and the general. And in both versions, it takes 20 minutes. It's just that the questions are a bit different. In the academic, you have to write about a graph or a chart. Now, you can't just write templates, everybody. Okay, if you want to get a good score on the IELTS these days, you really have to do some study, some practice, whether you're a native English speaker or a non-native English speaker. Yes, native English speakers take the IELTS exam. It's an equivalency exam. It's a proficiency exam. It's not an English as a second language exam. I can't stress that enough. I think there are a lot of people who have this false idea that the IELTS is an English as a second language exam. It's not. It's a proficiency exam. If you are a native English speaker, you can take the IELTS for university entrance just like anybody else, especially if the person did not pass grade 12 English. A lot of students don't, by the way. I've never really talked about this, members, but did you know, and this is just a quick mention as we get into this. So did you know that many native English speakers take equivalency exams for English to enter university because they did not pass their English grade 12 with a high enough score, okay, or their government exams. They basically have a couple of options. One is to do an exam like IELTS, or the other one is to do a grade 12 level English course in university, and it's like a bridge course. Okay, so it's not just people who don't speak English as a first language, right? Strong English communication is a requirement for everybody in university, and that includes essays. And did you know that one of the main reasons that people fail their grade 12 English is because they don't write good enough essays? Okay, that's where it gets interesting, right, for today's topic. So you can't just write a template. Templates are not good enough for college and university. So when you see these kind of strange lessons on the internet, like just paraphrase the question for your introduction, it's not good enough. Okay, it's not good enough. You have to be able to do a bit more. All right. Does that make sense, everybody, about grade 12 English and IELTS and the equivalency exam? So it's not just a simple English as a second language test. Okay, that's a very common confusion, everybody, and make sure you don't fall into that trap. It's a dangerous trap to be in, because then you think that you can just go online, copy some quick tips or tricks that examiners are giving you or teachers are giving you on the internet, and then that's good enough. And then, of course, students go to the IELTS test and they get a 5 or a 5.5 on their writing, and they get surprised. They're like, what happened? And it's like, well, you wrote a template with mistakes, and templates with mistakes don't get good scores. Okay. Elizabeth says, yes, that makes sense. Okay. All right. So having said that, let's take a look at what you should do and how you should write about task 1 in the academic. Okay. So here we have the question. Let's look at the question. Let's read it carefully. So you should spend about 40 minutes on this task. The following chart shows the popularity of several transportation methods among youth in different countries. Okay, let's take a look at what that is. Okay, so transport preferences among young people from different countries. Okay, so we have the y-axis here, right? Going down, we have the y-axis. And on the y-axis, it says we've got 0 to 80%, so we don't need 100% because I guess there's no 100% data. In the right here, we have the legend, so I'm going this way, right? This is called the legend. In the legend, we have 3 different types of transportation: car, motorcycle, bicycle. And then on the x-axis, that's your x-axis here. Sorry, I should go this way so it's not covering, it's not behind my head. So this is the x-axis here. And on the x-axis, we have the countries. We have Great Britain, we have the USA, we have Germany, and France. So there we go. That's our primary data. Okay, so that's our main data. It's very interesting, or very interesting and very important to identify that before we start writing our sentences. Okay, because that's important for the introduction. All right. The introduction for a high band score has to be detailed. It has to use that information. It has to use the information from the title. It has to use the information from the y-axis. It has to use the information from the x-axis in this case, and it has to use the information from the legend. Okay, so use the information from the graph for the introduction. Now, even before you really progress and get going, you have to understand some basic concepts of graphs and charts. So if you didn't really study graphs and charts in high school, everybody, then make sure to review this or learn this before you sit your IELTS exam. So this is a very important tip. Okay, if you do not, or if you did not study the basics of graphs, charts in public school or in government schools, right? Then you must learn this before IELTS academic and college or university. You might as well do it before the IELTS. Okay, now we have this for you, everybody, on the website. So when you go to aehelp.com, okay, so when you go to our website and you click on your My Student account and you go to your full online academic IELTS course and you click on the writing section lessons, then you will get to the task 1 description. And in here, you get the basics of writing about graphs and charts. So it tells you that when you write about graphs and charts, you need to describe, you need to analyze, and you need to conclude. You need to summarize. Okay. And then it basically tells you that, hey, okay, you've got different types of graphs and charts. You've got bar graphs. That's what we're looking at today. You've got line graphs, pie charts. You've got tables, flowcharts, diagrams. And then it tells you that you have to understand why you use these. So it's not just, you know, whatever graph for whatever purpose, but these graphs obviously have purpose. They have applications, unique applications. So you go to your bar graph application and it will tell you that bar graphs are used to show comparisons and contrasts between nominal data like countries. In the example here it says Canada, USA, Finland, Japan, Russia. Nominal data just basically means name data. So names. And then usually on interval scales or on ratio scales, that's your y-axis. And then it tells you some useful vocabulary: taller, shorter, higher, lower, etc. And it, of course, the course will tell you, you know, the other types as well, so line graphs and so on, but we're not focusing on those today. So learn the basics and learn the application purpose of these graphs. Okay, that is super duper important. Even if you're like, well, I'm not a math major, I'm not doing anything with math. That's okay. You don't have to be a math major to learn about graphs and charts. It's very important to learn those basics. Okay. James, you should not spend 40 minutes on task 1. You should spend 20 minutes on task 1. Thank you for emphasizing that. That's a typo on my part, James. No, task 1, you spend 20 minutes only. Okay, you spend 40 minutes on task 2. Okay, thanks, James, for pointing that out. All right. So again, in our case, we have the same concept here. So we have nominal data, right? And we've got two sets of nominal data. We've got our independent variable here, car, motorcycle, bicycle, or independent variables. And then we have our dependent, sorry, I should say that in reverse. We have our dependent variables here, car, motorcycle, bicycle, and we have our independent variables here, Great Britain, USA, Germany, and France. These ones don't change. Okay. All right. Now again, you don't need to be an expert in graphs and charts. You don't have to have advanced statistics in English, but you do need to know the basics. Okay. So here, this is nominal data. Nominal data means name data. Why? Because humans just basically gave it a name. We called this place Great Britain. We called this place USA, this one Germany, and that one France. We call this kind of transportation a car, that one a motorcycle, and the third a bicycle. We just give them names, okay? There are 4 types of data: nominal, ordinal, interval, ratio. You should know those. If you don't, learn them. I'm not going to teach you statistics and graphs and charts. That's up to you. Okay, so tip, learn about the 4 basic types of data. If this is new, it's a good hint that you probably need to learn the basics. Okay, and just do a bit of reading. It's not a lot, just a little bit. So you have nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. Okay. All right. Everybody's familiar with these. You might be like, oh, I've never heard those before. But when you read about them, you'll be like, oh yeah, okay, I know those in my own language. Okay. So those are your 4 types of data. Know them. Know how to write about them. Okay. All right. Now, we read this here. So the following chart shows the popularity of several transportation methods among youth in different countries. Report the main features and make comparisons where relevant. Write at least 150 words. As some of you know, high band essays are closer to 200 to 220 words. It's not me that said this, okay? So sometimes, you know, students are like, well, Adrian just says that. No, it's not me that says that. Talk to any actual IELTS examiner and they will say that, yes, it's very, very difficult, if not impossible, to get a band 7 or higher with a 150-word essay. 150 word is the minimum. It's the at least, okay? If you write less than 150 words, you actually start losing band scores for incomplete task, okay? But 150 words is the minimum to have a complete task, and that's just enough to kind of get into those band 6.5 range, 7 on a very good day if you have no mistakes, okay? All right. But if you want more, it has to be 200-ish, 220-ish. And if your teacher says, oh, you have to stop at 150, it's not true. I've talked to many IELTS examiners. I know IELTS examiners who do marking, and they all say, I usually never give a band score higher than a 7 for an essay that's 150 words. Okay, so having said that, the introduction. What is it, everybody? So members, this is just a quick little refresher here. Task 1 has 3 parts. Okay, the 3 parts of task 1 are introduction, overview, and analysis with a little summary. Okay, that's what it's made up of. Now, the introduction is, okay, what is it? What is the introduction? Which we have there, everybody. What do we include into the introduction? Now, this is where a lot of people who just watch some of those kind of template instructions, they say, okay, you have to paraphrase the question. And then Fuang says, yes, but we have to do it with detail. Okay, and I'll show you the difference. So here is the original question. Okay. Let me just put that here for you. So here's the original question. The following chart shows the popularity of several transportation methods among youth in different countries. Okay, so this is what a lot of people will do based on, of course, some bad instructions that they see on the internet or in classes. They go like this. The chart, the given chart, I love, it's very common. The given chart below indicates the trends of many transportation tools among youngsters in some countries. Okay, so a lot of people will start their introduction like this, and even though it's perfect English, this is a band 5 because it simply repeats, paraphrases the question. Okay, the examiner can't give you a high mark for this. They can't even really say it's decent English. They just say it's moderate, like it's okay. It doesn't take a grade 12 student of English to do this, okay? This kind of English can be produced by a native speaker who is, maybe 12 years old or 13 years old in like grade 6 or 7. Okay, so they can't give you a band 7 or an 8 for something like that. All right, it has to be better. It has to be more detailed. It has to have not just English, but a bit of thought behind it as well. Okay. All right, so Anahita says that this is probably a much better introduction here. Anahita says, the bar chart depicts the percentage of usage of cars, motorcycles, and bicycles in 4 nations. The y-axis shows the ratio with a maximum of 4/5% is not good, Anahita. 80%. It's either a fraction or a percent. You can't have a fractile percent. While the x-axis shows the countries, represents the countries. And then here, since you went that distance, Anahita, you would want to include the countries, and I'm guessing maybe you couldn't see them. That's why. So it's Great Britain, USA, Germany, and France. So you can say here UK, USA, Germany, and France. Okay, and then yeah, that's good. That's much better, right? So you have some details there. It's way, way better. Okay. All right, so that is the kind of detail. That's what the examiner wants to see. So when you have that now, the examiner's thinking, yeah, that's closer to band 9. Okay, that's the way that it would look in a grade 12 or college class. All right, so Ghazi, good. Ghazi has this answer for us. Ghazi says the bar graph illustrates 3 different ways of transportation. Yeah, and here, Ghazi, if you want to be a little bit even more interpretive, then you can say the bar graph illustrates 3 different ways of commuting. Car, motorcycle, and bicycle among young individuals in Great Britain, USA, Germany, and France on a percentage scale between 0 to 80%. Sure. Okay, I might write from 0 to 80%, but that's fine. Yeah. Okay, much better. Yeah, good. Fuang writes, the given bar chart illustrates the percentage of top 3 means of transportation in terms of cars, motorcycles, and bikes among the younger generation. Moreover, the x-axis depicts 4 different countries or nations, including the UK, USA, Germany, and France. No, Anahita, I wouldn't use 4/5 instead of 80% here in the beginning. I would just use the percent. The scale should be clear here. Okay. All right, Ghazi, I'm liking your avatar. It's cool. Okay, yeah, so that's it. Okay, and again, it's not super complex. Once you practice this a couple of times, it goes fairly smoothly. So basically, you use the title, the axes, the legend, and that's it. Okay, so this bar graph shows the preference, the transportation preference among juveniles in 4 different countries: UK, America, Germany, and France. And then once I have that, I look at it, I think, okay, can I add some more details? Sure, I can include the transportation methods, car, motorcycle, bicycle. So this bar graph shows instead of the, I can go 3 transportation preferences, added in with a couple of commas, car, motorcycle, bike, and bike among juveniles in 4 different countries. UK, America, Germany, and France. How? As a percentage from 0 to 80%. Okay, so again, you don't have to have the perfect introduction or sentence right away. You can just start with the basic paraphrase, as you might have otherwise anyways, and then just look at the graph and include those details. Okay. Yeah. And James, the y-axis is the 4 countries. That's correct. So that's my introduction. Okay. Then after the introduction comes the overview. Ghazi, you're so kind. Okay. And it says, oh, that's so cool, Ghazi. Right underneath it, it says that's your 10th super chat donation on the live stream. Ghazi, you're awesome. Thank you. So here we have the overview coming up next. Okay. Now this is, by the way, I have to say that this kind of essay structure is typical for the IELTS. In college and university, you will find that expository essays are a little bit different. But that's fine. That's okay. So for the IELTS, they just really want this structure for Task 1 academic. They want the introduction and they want the overview. The overview are the main features of the graph that outline the clear comparisons and contrasts without going into specific data. This also becomes the outline for the main paragraph, the analysis, okay? Or analyses, I should say. All right, so that's what the overview is. So the overview is kind of like, okay, what's happening here, right? All right, and a lot of people, again, just based on some of these videos and lessons that you see online, the first thing they try to look for is the biggest. Bam, boom, there it is. It's France. Car. France, car. Okay. So they go, the most popular type of transportation was cars in France. Again, it's okay, but it's not going to be your best writing. Okay. So thanks, Ghazi. Anahita saying, can we use the title as some words of the paraphrase in the intro? Yes, absolutely, Anahita. Yeah, that's a good idea. Good question. Yeah, you can, for sure. Okay, so this is not going to be the best way to start, to talk about France being the most popular. It's a little bit simplistic. What's a better way? So what's more obvious? So it's not just France that has cars as the most popular means. Anybody else have cars as the most popular means? Okay. Ghazi says the most common method of transportation among those countries is car, with the exception of Germany. Okay. Right? And you're right. So if we look at it carefully, so when you're talking about the overview, it doesn't just mean like look at it and look away, and oh, it was France was the most. But it's actually like looking at it a little bit without really looking at the numbers, but just looking at the graphs, right? So we can see that you've got Great Britain here, USA, and France, where cars are definitely very, very popular compared to the other two types of transportation. But there is one outlier here, right? And it's Germany. So Germany, bikes are more common, right? So we can write that, okay? We can write that. So put that into a sentence. So that would be my first part of my overview. At first glance, it is clear that the car is the most preferred method of transport among these countries, with the exception of Germany. Now, I'm not going to go into the fact of how popular bikes are in the Germany. I can save that for the main part of the essay, the analyses, the body paragraph. Okay, so I have that. Now I'm going to look for what else can I see. So that's one. That's one. Okay. What's another one? What else can I see here, everybody? So what's another clear kind of piece of information here? Well, I'm going to go step by step. So I'm going to go from left to right. Okay. So here, okay, motorbikes, not as popular as bikes. So bikes are pretty popular here. USA, motorbikes are pretty popular. Bikes, not so much. Here, bikes are more popular. Motorbikes, not so much. And here, bikes are more popular. Motorbikes, not as much. So what can I say for my second piece? Now you'll start to see a pattern. You'll be like, oh, there's a bit of a pattern here, right? Okay. All right, bit of a pattern. So we can say, hopefully you're starting to see the same trends here. So bicycles were the second most popular. Bikes are, and here I don't use the past were, okay? Why don't I use the past tense? Anybody? This is a good question here. Okay, let's stop for this question for a second. Why am I not using the past? So why am I using bikes are? Bikes are the second most common choice for travel, with the exception, or since I used the exception right above to make my essay look nicer, I'm not going to use with the exception. I'm going to use the words aside from USA or the US. Okay. And why am I not using the past tense here? Why don't I say were the most? Yeah, Ghazi, very good. Ghazi says there's no certain year for the study here, so we can't present it as the past, because it could be now, right? This could be a longitudinal study that was done over years and years, all the way to the present, and it's expected that currently or into the future, the trends are very similar. So there's no years here. When you do not see any year, it's best to use the present tense. Okay, so that's just a quick tip here. All right, tip. Pay attention to the information. When no year of the study is given, it is best to use the present tense in your essay. Okay? Yeah, Fuang said that too. Fuang says the chart does not give us the year. Exactly. No year, no past tense, present tense, right? Okay, so at first glance, it is clear that the car is... we can make this more concise. We can say clearly. The car is the most preferred method of transport among these countries, with the exception of Germany. Bikes are the second most common choice for travel, aside from the US. All right. Now, motorcycles are the least preferred method of travel, aside from the US. Should I write that sentence? So should I write this sentence here, everybody? And here I can make this more concise too, except Germany. Okay, so here, should I write this sentence? The least chosen method. And now here it's the past participle because it's passive voice. It's not showing a past tense, but it's the passive voice. The least chosen method by youth. Okay, so least chosen method is motorcycle. Do I need to write that? Should I write that? What do you think? What's the answer? So should I write this sentence here? The least chosen method is... Anita says, no, it's not important. You should save that time for the analysis. Yeah, so again, good writing is concise. You saw me change a couple of parts of my writing there to make it more concise. Okay, you should never make your writing wordy because it makes it less coherent and more confusing. So you should always choose words with purpose. You don't need to write this because it's obvious. Okay, if car is the most preferred and bikes are the second most common, and we have 3 types of transportation, then it's rational that motorbikes are the least preferred. So you don't need to write it. It's not important. It's more important that you pay attention to the analysis and that you check for correct grammar, spelling, word choice, concise language. Okay? So here's another tip, everybody. Okay, tip. You should avoid mentioning or writing obvious information, redundant or repetitive information. High band essays are accurate with word choice, grammar, concise language, okay, and content. Right? Pay attention to that. Right? So don't waste time stating the obvious. Okay? All right, make sense? Yes? Okay, now that we have this information here, we get into the analysis. And the analysis, or analyses, plural for analysis, is the main part of your essay. And simply here, what you're doing is you're actually taking what you wrote in the overview and you're going into details. So take the concepts from your overview and give details using the data. Okay, that's what you're doing. So here we said at first glance, clearly the car is the most preferred method of transport among these countries except Germany. Bikes are the second most common choice. Okay, so let's take a peek here. Okay, how should we write this? So we're writing about the car first. Okay. So here we have 60, 60, 75, and 40, right? Give me some sentences. I don't want to spoil the fun for you. And this graph is relatively simple. Often on the IELTS, you'll see graphs that are a little bit more complicated than this. But the concept is the same as what we're doing here. So let's write these. Put this into sentences for me. Again, I don't want to spoil the fun, and I know that many of our members and regular viewers have some good ideas now on how you should be reporting this. Okay. And again, while our members are thinking about what are the best ways to explain, hint, hint, interpret these numbers, Anahita, now might be the chance to talk about factorials or ratios, hint, hint. And while you're thinking about that, for all of the people who are watching out there, if you're not a member, it's fine. We're using this website's content here at aehelp.com. And you can join the premium version of the course with this big red button here. And then, as I was showing everybody moments ago, in the course, in your My Student account, you have lots and lots of sample essays for task 1 in your full online course. So make sure that you check that out. And you look at those sample essays. Like here's this sample essay here for a graph or chart that's a little bit more like what you would see in the IELTS. So this one is dealing with rainfall. And then it basically goes through the different parts of the essay. So check that out. Use that course, okay? Again, that is at aehelp.com. aehelp.com. Okay. All right, let's see what our members have for this. And Carolina says, yes, again, just a quick reminder, you can also buy the course right here on YouTube through Shopify. Okay, Fuang, good. I see that you are writing. Excellent. And so Fuang says, in more details, British and America have similarity in proportion nearly 60% respectively, while just 40% in Germany. Conversely, okay, Fuang, couple of quick corrections right off the bat. In more detail. We don't say in more details, okay? So let me just do it with strike through so you can see the correction, okay? So let's strange when it doesn't give me that strike through. Anyway, let's do it like that. Okay, so the S there. All right, get rid of that. So in more detail, British and America, I would say it like this, Brits and Americans. If you're talking about the people, Fuang, it's the Brits, the British, and the Americans. So Brits and Americans, Brits and American, Brit and American youth, okay, have similarity in a proportion of liking cars for transportation at 60%. So it's not nearby here, Fuang, it's at 60%. So see, Fuang, careful with the data. It's exactly, it's not just nearby. If you say nearby or close to, the examiner will see that as a mistake because they'll be like, no, it's not close to, it's exactly 60%, right? So be careful, you have to be accurate, okay? So, in more detail, Brit and American youth have similarity in proportion of liking cars for transportation at 60%. And you don't need respectively because it's the same. So it doesn't have to be first or second. It's regardless. While this is just 40% in Germany. Conversely, where's the rest of it, Fuang? Don't be biting your nails. Just give me the rest of the analysis, or the part of the analysis here. Okay. Okay, Anahita, you've got the right idea. We just need to fix this a little bit. So Anahita says the cars. It's not the cars, it's just cars. Okay. Cars in France are not used, so careful here, Anahita. It's not the usage of cars in France, okay? Always keep in mind the information. So it's transport preferences among young people. It means what they like to use if they can. Is that clear, everybody? It doesn't mean that's how often they use it or how many they use, or it doesn't mean that it's how many of them they have. It's what they like. It's what they prefer. So it's the transport preference. We have to be very clear here on what we're talking about, right? So it's not used, it's the preference. All right? So, and it matters. So if some people are like, well, does that matter? Yes, it does. It's the academic IELTS. Your content is very, very important. Okay, if you have bad content or bad information, you're going to lose marks left, right, and center, even if you have perfect English. Does that make sense, everybody? So it's really, really important that you understand this. Okay. Note, an IELTS candidate with perfect English but bad information or content will get a lower score than an IELTS candidate who makes spelling and grammar mistakes but has accurate information. Okay? It's extremely important that everybody understands that, okay? You can't forget the question, Anahita, especially if you've paraphrased it. You can't, I mean, if you have to check it, but you shouldn't be checking it all the time, okay? All right. So, cars in France are the choice for 3/4 of youth. Now, it is accurate, okay, Anahita? So cars in France are the choice for 3/4 of youth. This is 15% more than youngsters in Great Britain and the USA. Lastly, only 40% of youngins prefer cars for transport in Germany. Okay, so let's finish that idea. Let's use the word juveniles. Youngins is too slang. Juveniles. Okay, juveniles means under 18. Juveniles. 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 Okay, so cars in France are the choice for 3/4 of youth. This is 15% more than youngsters in Great Britain and the USA. Lastly, only 40% of juveniles prefer cars for transports in Germany. Okay, all right, we'll take Anahita's here, and that looks like a good band 9 now. The highest band scores for task 1 are going to be awarded to the essays that not only use good English, grammar, good content, but also interpret the data. And that's what Anahita is doing here. Okay, so that's that extra step that the examiners are looking for when they're awarding those Band 8, Band 9 scores. They're seeing, okay, this candidate recognized that that's 75%. 75%, said another way, is 3/4 of the population. Okay, 60% is over half of the population, over 1/2. Okay, and it's these interpretations that get you those super scores. Okay, everybody clear on that? Okay, Anahita, you can write lesser, but the reason I would not is because it's more confusing. Okay, so stating less here is more confusing than writing it this way. So your goal isn't just to write it, your goal is to write it as clear as possible for your reader. So the answer here, Anahita, is you could write it that way, but it's more confusing or less clear if you write it that way. Okay? So in good writing, you're always thinking about your reader. You're always thinking, what's the easiest for my reader to understand? All right? You can review for that. So when you've done a bit of writing, and I always recommend after each paragraph, review what you're writing. So here we have this bar graph shows 3 transportation preferences, car, motorcycle, and bike, among juveniles in 4 different countries, UK, America, Germany, and France, as a percentage from 0 to 80%. At first glance, clearly, the car is the most preferred method of transport among these countries except Germany. Bikes are the second most common choice for travel aside from the US. Cars in France are the choice for 3/4 of youth. This is 15% more than youngsters in Great Britain and the USA. Now, see here, because I have a factor, a ratio of 3/4, and I mix it with percent, it's a bit confusing. So I would say this is slightly more. I don't like the percent there because I don't like mixing percent with factors. I don't think that makes it so clear. I mean, it makes the reader have to interpret like, okay, it's 75% minus 15%. But I would just say it's slightly more. 15% is not a lot more. I would say it's slightly more than youngsters in Great Britain. And then lastly, only 40% of juveniles prefer cars for transports in Germany. Okay. And then I continue from here, right? So better, right? And that's where that review comes in. So now I'm going to talk about bicycles. So bicycles, I have this, let me switch to another color. So bicycles, I have this here in Germany. Of course, I should start with that because in Germany, bicycles are more popular than cars. It's the only country. And then bicycles seem to be quite popular here in Great Britain. And in the USA and in France, bikes just don't seem all that much liked, right? So I need to mention this. I should compare this, and then I should take a comparison here. Now, in a perfect situation, you're indicating these points of comparison before you start writing your analysis, okay? So in a perfect world, you're going, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then maybe these last ones with the motorbike here is 8. Okay, so those would be my 8 points of comparison, and that's where I would focus my analysis. Now, it doesn't mean you have 8 unique sentences. Some of these you might combine, but those would be my 8 focal points for comparison in this graph or this chart. just like as if you're giving a presentation on this to a class, okay? All right, everybody, that makes sense? So here, I'm focusing now on this, and then kind of on this, okay? Now, in Germany, it's at roughly 45%, which is greater than cars, obviously. So let's put these into sentences. Okay, let's put Germany and Great Britain into sentences. Great Britain is 30%. Okay. All right. Let's write together. So I'm going to write for a moment here. You do the same. Focus on what you're doing, and then we'll compare. Okay. There are many different ways to do this correctly and to get a band 9. It's not just the way I'm showing it to you. It's the way that you give the interpretation of the data. Okay. So Fuang says 10% is 1/10. 30% is a third. How do we call it if it stops at 40%? If it stops at 40%, Fuang, you can call it 40%, or you can say 4 from 10. 4 from 10 youth, okay? That's a good question. So if it's kind of like this odd percentage where it's not a common factorial, like a half, a quarter, and so on. So 40%, for instance, you could say 4 of 10. Okay. Anahita says you could do 2/5. 2/5 is a little bit awkward. I would go 4 of 10 on that one. Yeah. And I can see a lot of people are checking out our products in the chat, which is great. Good for you. It's a smart choice, everybody, to get those products, because we have tons of videos for you like this on the website that explain how to do the IELTS correctly with examples. While you start your writing, so students, start your writing. Remember, start writing about bicycles here. And then just for all of our viewers, in the course, if you click on lesson videos, then in your lesson videos, you've got tons of writing lessons here, and they actually start with the bar graph introduction. So you have the bar graph that's being explained here by an IELTS examiner. So this is actually Mark here, and Mark is an IELTS examiner and a marker. He marks exams, and in the course, Mark here explains the concept of IELTS Task 1. So you can check out those videos, okay, in the course. So, all right, let's see what you come up with. And Carolina says, "Yep." And you can use that code right here on YouTube through Shopify. Exactly, Carolina. Rightio. All right. Quickly, members. You remember, you have a time limit. It's really just 20 minutes. So the trick isn't just to learn all of this content that I'm giving you, but it's to be able to do it quickly, right? So here we have this sentence. Lastly, only 40% of juveniles prefer car transport in Germany. In Germany, bikes are the most popular method of commuting. Commuting means going from A to B, like home to school or school to work. So in Germany, now when you start with a leading expression of location or time, you should follow it with a comma. So in Germany, bikes are the most popular method of commuting at 45%. Secondly, bicycles are also quite popular in the UK at a third of the population of youth. Okay. Conversely, they are much less liked in the US and France, where only about a tenth of youngsters opt for these vehicles. Yes, even bikes are vehicles. Okay. All right. So that's bikes. Okay, now obviously France is a little bit more than a tenth. It's 15%, but I don't want to go into a lot of nitty-gritty detail there. The more important point here is that they're just not comparable that much, right? Okay. So now I get into the last dependent variable, which is motorcycle. Okay. Dependent variables are the variables that change depending on the independent variable of the nation of Great Britain, USA, Germany, and France. Okay. And members, I am looking for your writing. I hope you're writing. Okay. All right. I'm looking for that. I hope you're writing. Not just listening, right? So use your language. It's okay to make mistakes. We learn from our mistakes, especially in this kind of writing, okay? It's very important that you write. Okay. Fuang had a good chuckle about that, right, Fuang? Hope you're writing. This is where if we were in a physical class, in a physical IELTS class, you were all in my class, I'd be looking at you like this. Are you writing? Are you writing? And I'd want to see everybody writing and not on their phone going, oh. Okay. All right. We know Ghazi's writing. Good for you, Ghazi. All right, Ghazi, let's check it out. Ghazi has this piece for us. Ghazi says bikes is most common. Bikes are. Just as soon as you have that S, Ghazi, think are instead of is. Bikes are the most because it's unique. It's one. It's the. When you're using superlatives, right? Most, least, fastest, biggest. It's the biggest, the fastest, the most, the least. It's because it's unique. When it becomes a superlative, one, the ultimate, it becomes unique. So it's the. Bikes are the most common method of transport in Germany, where about a half of young individuals use bicycles in their commuting. Bicycles for their commute, a little bit more natural for their commute, while about a third of youth in Great Britain rely, not relay, it's different spelling, rely, okay, no A there, okay, rely on bikes as a method in their travels. Yeah, very nice. Ghazi, it's very nice with just those corrections, okay? So as soon as you have those corrections, it's lovely. Okay, bikes are the most common method of transport in Germany, where about a half of young individuals use bicycle for their commute, while about a third of youth in Great Britain rely on bikes as a method of their travel. Sure, yeah, and rely means that, you know, they like it, they prefer it. It's kind of, it's synonymous enough. I like it. Yeah, thumbs up, Ghazi. That's great. I dig it. I like it. Okay, so good. Now, while I'm waiting for some more people or more members to be like Ghazi, and send me super chat donations. No, yes. No, be like Ghazi and write sentences. Okay, Anahita. Anahita has this for us. Anahita says, motorcycles, the least preferred method of commuting, are nearly a third in the US and around in other countries. Okay, Anahita, organize those thoughts, okay? I agree with you, it's the least preferred method of commuting. But after you write the least preferred method of commuting, you shouldn't write the US where it's actually liked more than the other countries. You should write about the countries where it's least preferred. So motorcycles, the least preferred method of commuting. How least? 10% in Great Britain, 15% in Germany, and 10% in France. Okay, so I would do this. Motorcycles, the least preferred method of commuting, especially in the UK, Germany, and France, where 10%, 15%, and 10% of youth like this mode of transport, respectively. Okay. And now it's a little bit clearer. So motorcycles are the least preferred method of commuting, especially in the UK, Germany, and France, where 10%, 15%, and 10% of youth like this mode of transport, respectively. However, motorcycles do gain more favor at nearly 1/3 of youngsters in the USA. Okay, because that's a contrast there. So I would do it like that. Okay, Anahita, so really yes, so Anahita, you want to be concise, but not at the expense of being incoherent. Okay, that's the trick, everybody. That's the magic recipe. That's where the magic happens. Yes, is you have to be concise. You must be concise, but not at the expense of coherence and clarity. Okay, so that's where we have to make those hard decisions. Like, do I need to include that to be clear here for this point? Okay, so I would. So Anahita, we can now take that and plop it in here to finish off, because I would write something very, very similar here. Okay. All right. For the end. Okay, and then I would review this paragraph. So cars in France are the choice for 3/4 of youth. This is slightly more than youngsters in Great Britain and the USA. Lastly, only 40% of juveniles prefer cars for transport in Germany. In Germany, bikes are the most. Now here, I can be more concise, right? So when you have something like Germany in Germany, then I can be more concise. How can I do that? I can join those sentences, right? So I can say in Germany, I think Ghazi did this, where bikes are the most popular mode of commuting at 45%. And now here I would have put a period and then start a fresh sentence here. Secondly, bicycles are also quite popular in the UK at 1/3 of the population of youth. Conversely, they are much less liked in the US and France, where only about 1/10 of youngsters opt for these vehicles. Okay. And here, if I want, I can do a fancy joining with the semicolon and conversely, or you can even just do it with a comma. Okay, like that. Often those semicolons are unnecessary. I mentioned that in the other class. Don't really worry about colons and semicolons for the IELTS. It's more important to just really learn to use your commas well. Okay, this is another tip here. Lots of great tips for you in today's class. So tip for the IELTS, Do not worry about using semicolons or colons. Just be sure to use commas. Commas. Well, okay. So don't worry about semicolons and colons. Yes, you can learn the rules for those, and you should for university and for professional life. You should learn them, but you don't need to worry about them for the IELTS exam as long as you can use commas accurately. It's better for you to be able to use commas accurately and not make mistakes with those than to sneak in 1 or 2 semicolons or colons, okay? All right, makes sense? Okay, that's punctuation. You need to have good punctuation. It does matter. Bad punctuation will get you lower scores. Okay, all right. Okay, so here is our essay with the introduction, the overview, and the analysis all together now. You know what? Let's put it right underneath the graph so everybody can see it. Okay, and the word count here, I'll let you know what that is in just a second. The word count here is... Look at that. It's 185 words. It is exactly what you should be kind of going for. 185 words. That's a very good number. Okay, 185 words. Band 9. Okay. And then let's review. So here is the original question. You should spend about 20 minutes on this task. The following chart shows the popularity of several transportation methods among youth in different countries. Report the main features and make comparisons where relevant. Write at least 150 words. High band essays are closer to 200, 220. Definitely if you're at the 185 mark, you're much, much better. 220 is maybe a bit much. I should probably go, I think I went a little over there. 180 to 200, let's say that. Okay. All right, so we have the graph here. We have our data. We know what bar graphs are now, how they're used. And so we write the essay. This is what it reads. This bar graph shows 3 transportation preferences, cars, motorcycle, and bike among juveniles in 4 different countries, UK, America, Germany, and France, as a percentage from 0 to 80%. At first glance, clearly, the car is the most preferred method of transport among these countries except Germany. Bikes are the second most common choice for travel aside from the US. Cars in France are the choice for 3/4 of youth. This is slightly more than youngsters in Great Britain and the USA. Lastly, only 40% of juveniles prefer cars for transport in Germany, where bikes are the most popular method of commuting at 45%. Secondly, bicycles are also quite popular in the UK at 1/3 of the population of youth. Conversely, they are much less liked in the US and France, where only about 1/10 of youngsters opt for these vehicles. Motorcycles are the least preferred method of commuting, especially in the UK, Germany, and France, where 10, 15, and 10% of youth like this mode of transport, respectively. However, motorcycles do gain more favor at nearly 1/3 of youngsters in the USA. Now, if I have a minute left, I'll write a quick summary. And that summary will sound like this. In summary, cars are the most popular, bikes second, but there are some variances depending on the nation or the nationality of the youth. There, because we're talking about those young students, right? So, or young people. So here in summary, cars are the most popular, bikes second, but there are some variances depending on the nationality of the youth. And we can see that, right? So Germany, we've got the popularity of bikes. USA, we've got the popularity of the motorcycles. So that would be an accurate summary to make. Now it's probably exactly 200 words, okay, or around 205 words. All right, so that would be your perfect essay, okay, that the examiner is looking for, that's how you do a task 1. Members, send your essays. Viewers, send your essays. We love seeing your work. If you send your essay to adrian@aehelp.com or admin@aehelp.com, we'll give you a band score estimate for free, and they're quite accurate. A lot of students have said, oh yeah, the band scores you estimated for me before my IELTS exam is pretty much exactly what I got on my IELTS exam. If you like editing videos, send me your CV. We're looking for video editors. I just got one today, so hopefully we'll get some more. Of course, you can download the apps Academic IELTS Help, General IELTS Help from your app stores. Link the apps to the websites. And definitely, if you like these classes and you're joining them regularly, get the premium version of our course. Watch the videos. Use the content. Premium members, I'm sending out your Zoom links probably right after this class. I think I'll have a few minutes, so I'll take care of that ASAP. Okay. All right, Carolina there has put my email into the chat. Oh, and by the way, of course, if you're like, hey, I want the product right now, right here, give it to me, then you can get it through Shopify. There you go. Ghazi, you're so welcome. Thank you for your 10th super chat donation. I will remember that. Fuang, you're super welcome as well. Coming up in just a little over 30 minutes, we will have a reading practice session for the IELTS exam with tips and strategies, reading about the city of 1,000 windows. And that will be joined by our YouTube channel subscribers, which is free. So subscribe to the channel and you'll be able to jump in on that chat and volunteer and read and answer questions. So hopefully I'll see you in 37 minutes. I'm Adrian, signing out from Victoria here in Western Canada. Thank you for watching. Much love to all of you. Bye for now.